everybody, it is Romania Black, and I feel very much like a mage today as I'm like bundling up because it's so cold outside. But we're about to watch episode 7 of Frieren, and I am officially in love with this series. It's so good. And Stark has my heart. I love Stark. Like his connection with Ison, their backstory, how he can be cowardly, but he's using his fear and overcoming it and being courageous. And they trounced that dragon last episode. Stark came in and was like, "Oh, I killed it. Oh, I killed it." And Frieren's like, "I need my smutty grimoire. Give it to me. Let's go." Grandma needs her reading. So I'm super excited for episode 7. I'm really enjoying this series so far. And knowing that it has 28 episodes, we have so much to go. That's so exciting. I'm like, yes, I feel like I've come in at the right time with this series, knowing that we're getting into it. We're getting deeper into the story and the characters. We only have 3, though, in our party. And, you know, Frieren's last party had 4, so there's still room for at least 1 more. Maybe more than that. We'll see. But I'm really, really excited. I've got some comments I want to talk about before we start and kind of go over those. KA as well as Anime Edits 54 both talked about how Flom, old fire mage Flom, their voice actress was the same voice actress as Margot Langer from Monster, which I'm watching now, is Hanami from Jujutsu Kaisen, which I had watched previously this last year. And then I'm reading a little manga called Berserk right now. No big deal. But there's a character in it that's this lady demon, and apparently this voice actress is the same one for it. So I'm like, that's so freaking cool. I love when veteran voice actors who have done this business for like 30 to 40 years, they come back and they voice these iconic characters in these anime from the 80s and 90s, and they're still doing voice acting today. I think that's such a craft. It's so cool to have those veterans doing these big roles. And even though Flom right now is a minor role, it's still a very big character. It was Frieren's mentor. So I think that's so neat, and I love that a lot. But anyway, so thank you all for letting me know that. Alessi Kali talked about how Stark means strong, and Einsum, which is the monster who tries to like lure its victims with memories of its loved ones, Einsum means lonely. So I thought that, maybe feel a bit bad for the monsters getting destroyed by Fern and them, that they're just lonely demons trying to, get some people to love them and I guess kill them along the way. But I thought that was pretty interesting. Pancake talks about Himmel. Pancake pointed this out and I was like, oh yeah, that is the case. Himmel is the dead wife trope in anime. Pancake's like, when you have a character who's like lost their wife and like she's the motivation they need to keep moving and they keep on thinking about him. It's like, that's Himmel. And I was like, oh yeah. It's kind of cool to see that subverted where it's the husband, quote unquote, the should have been husband, is the one that's died and keeps motivating the main character, in this case Frieren, to keep moving forward. I thought that was really good to point out. C. Davis had a really cool quote that kind of applies to Stark, and I really, really enjoyed this in their comments, saying, "The brave man is not who does not feel fear, but who conquers that fear." And I was like, yes, that's the whole big thing with Stark, is that Stark is afraid, but chooses to conquer that fear rather than be held back by it. And I thought that was a really cool quotation to tie into this episode. And then finally, I Swallow Apple Seeds pointed out that the first 4 episodes that were originally one big episode at the beginning was actually pre-scored. That it was scored before the animation process began. Everyone recorded their voices and then they animated over that, which I know a lot of Western animation does that, or they're doing it simultaneously with the animation and the voice acting, but a lot of anime is, the voices match what's being said by the characters, or it's being done, the same time in the process. So I thought that was really cool. I don't know how many anime have pre-scored tracks before they're animated. I don't know. The only thing I can think of is maybe Mob Psycho was fully completed before it was released. So that might be an example maybe, but it may not even be. I need to research this, but I thought that was cool that I Swallow Apple Seeds pointed this out. So thank you all so much for the comments. I love reading them with this series. They've been so wonderful to go through. Those were just the ones I wanted to point out, some very interesting info moving forward. But in any case, I'm really excited to get into this episode. I hope you all are too. But with that being said, we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive right into Frieren episode 7. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's go. Oh, it's by Flom, you say. Oh, yeah. Wow, so she's been collecting imitations of Flom's grimoires. Wow. Okay, we'll talk about this. When all you see are fakes. But she knew Flom, so... The founder of humanity's magic. What? Oh! What does that make Frieren? And it's been long enough since then. Oh, and Himmel's like, oh shit, she's old. This girl ain't in her teens or 20s. 2020s. I wish we had more with Himmel in that moment. Yes, it is, actually. We must praise her! Oh my god! Stark is like, is this like a Title IX thing? Like a fairy tale, which is, you know, the existence of Flom. Good news is, 28 deaths, AH. The good news is you don't have to, like, bury the monsters you destroy. They automatically self-evaporate. It's very handy. Aww. I would totally be down for some levitating powers. I could do a lot with that. She's like, bitch, quit complaining. Oh, well, but then the road's still gonna be blocked. Yes, see? That's exactly right. Ah! You're rather selfish, Stark. Rich coming from you. I love the smile she gives him, like, birds of a feather. Yes, sir. Give us some Stark fan service. I love his outfit. Like, the design is amazing. It's so cool. Yeah. What's up with the landslide? Ah. What if we drank all of the water and give it back? Yeah, because we know they're at war right now. The scars of battle. I like that description. The way that her, like, collar and everything is, it reminds me of very Victorian, like a Victorian nightgown. Oh. Oh, she's just being around Hater, though, who's very old and old-fashioned. Is Stark his first name or last name? Ah! Quit wasting time and help me! Rude! Oh, or familiar way. Oh. Ah! Yes. Oh my god, love it. Calling him out. Freeren's like, can you quit flirting and come over here? Love it. Love it. Poor Stark. Dude, I feel for you. How very nice of you, sir. Are there lots of elves? Ooh. A rarity. Yeah, why? Yeah, what happened to the elves? Did they all get on a ship to the Grey Havens? Okay, so she has seen other elves, but... Oh! Well, that makes sense. We're quietly going extinct. Oh, shoot. Oh, wow. I had not thought about this. Holy cow. Well, we're going to talk about a lot of things. Liberation Festival. What if he, like, lured them to a cult meeting? Oh, I love the design of all these demons randomly visiting. They're all Digimon. Oh, is that right? And they have a statue as well. Man, Himmel was going to make sure there was a statue in every town. Every town. For everything. No, you're not wrong. Oh. From human memory. Wow. Interesting. She's like, well, this is awkward. Oh my gosh. 5 retakes! Jesus! I want everyone to remember us. Yes. Ah! I love Himmel. Shut up! Oh, shut up! We're not fairy tales. You shut the front door. Oh my god, Himmel, you handsome son of a bitch. You look a lot like that lady. Will he be doing this 100 years from now? Wow. What about 1,000? Ooh. Wow. It's almost like a religion, a religious aspect to this that I want to talk about. Oh yeah, so Stark doesn't know about the veil? We're going to talk to dead people. I'd want a little bit more context, Stark. I'd be like, oh heaven, tell me more. All right, Graf. Was that Graf Ganon? Is Ganondorf his domain? The music shift was interesting. Yeah, like the tone totally shifted. Huh. Frieren always keeps like a few steps ahead of them when she's walking. Oh. Oh! Well, we are quite conspicuous, aren't we? Oh! Oh, shit! Oh, Lord Lugner Sawabe, you are here! Oh! Yeah, we do not know what's going on. Oh. Oh. Oh my god, keep talking, please. Oh my god. Ooh. They're both like the shit! Oh no, Frieren! Damn it, no! Oh shit. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Ha! No! Oh. What a rager. 2 or 3 years? Yeah, you waste time. They don't got 2 or 3 years. Yeah, peace envoys. Aura the guillotine. Oh. Oh, that's all. Oh. So is she the girl? They're suing for peace. Interesting. Oh. We are quite anti-demon. Did something happen? Oh. Is that the one? Is that Suabe's voice? Is that the same demon? Uh-huh. Ooh. Frieren's like, oh, get out of my way. Oh. Oh. Ooh. Is the demon going to attack him, though? Ooh. 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 So what changed the mind there? Yeah. Frieren's like, I warned you. Oh, no, but you didn't listen to me. And the demon's gonna kill both of them. And she's watching it the whole time. Her and Kenzo Timma would get along great. They're just dragging it around! Ooh. Wow. Oh, Himmel's face. Oh. Ooh. Oh, shit. Uh-huh. Ooh. Ooh. Somehow. Oh. 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 Ooh. Interesting. You have no concept of family. Wow. Damn, that's cold. That was cold. Stone cold. Uh-huh. A wonderful magic word. Shit. Wow, and it came back to her. To lure them to them, yeah. Stark's like, well, this is interesting. Bring me grimoires! I want my smut! Granny needs her readings! Interesting. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, was. Was. What do we do about this? That's a nice sword you got there, sir. Ah. Against Aura. Well, then why'd you lock Frieren up when you're gonna attack him anyway? She could totally have helped you. What? Dude, why did you, what? Oh, find something to say. Oh, interesting. Oh, but she just said the concept, yeah. It looked like the one behind him was getting ready to attack. Oh, man. Ooh. Oh, and she had the little ball. Who knows? Oh my god! Oh my god! Uh-huh. Oh my god. And then they'll come in and massacre it. Uh-huh. Lady Aura. Ooh. Lenny. What? What? Oh, is he going down to Frieren? Oh, now. Oh my god. Oh. Oh. Uh-huh. Oh my god. Oh, so by like the predators. Yes. Yes, that would be the logic. Oh my god. Just so you know, this granny could probably whoop some ass. Oh. Oh, I mean, no big deal, y'all. So Frieren might be a secret badass. No, Frieren's been a badass since episode 1. We have established this. Her party defeated the Demon King. Of course they're badass, but I like how this series has spent the last several episodes, right? Trying to make you forget that. Trying to make you forget that Frieren helped kill a Demon King and save the entire population of this entire continent. They would like you to forget about such things by being like, oh no, little Frieren, she's just collecting books and talking to squirrels and just, meandering out in the bushes, and she's too afraid to fight the dragon, so she's gonna have the young whippersnappers do it. No, Frieren is a certified badass, and you're not gonna convince me otherwise. She's just been lying low, and she's like, fine, you know what? If you're gonna get me riled up, then I'm gonna get riled up. I want to bring Whiteboard King and talk about this episode because there's a lot of things just mentioned casually that are just thrown out there, and a lot of things, as my own demon dog is over here, and a lot of things just casually just thrown out that they expect you as the audience to pick up, and it's like, okay, cool. And then just little things that you're like, all right, show. What I think I love most about the show, and I'm going to go ahead and say it before I forget about it, but I was thinking about it during the ED, is that, in any other type of like major shonen, there'd be this bombastic music and like the dun 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 and like all this booming, swelling, epic score as tensions were rising, and we find out about the demons and that they're really just trying to trick the humans into letting them in so they can eat them. And we're like, we don't really care how we get there, but okay. But that's not how Frieren works. This series doesn't work like that. It doesn't do the big over the top like score. It's so subtle. And it's so subtle, it's what we call understatement. I was actually doing a lecture on this today. It's like the idea of overstatement and understatement. And you could either go one of two ways and it'd be effective, right? So you look at a series like Attack on Titan where it's like more is more, and it's just like bombastic music, giant explosions, everything, and it's just like so overwhelming. That's overstatement, right? It's an exaggeration, but it's effective and it's good. I love it. And then you have this series that does what we call an understatement, where it does things minimally and subtly, but it's like you as the audience get to kind of fill in the gaps for what's not said, and for like what is like dialed down. You, the audience, can kind of use your imagination to fill in where there might be like little missing chunks, right? And I feel like Frieren does that very, very well. So yeah, let's talk about this. So Frieren has friends in high places, doesn't she? Oh my gosh. So let's talk about this. We have our dear, beautiful Flom. Old Flom, the legendary mage. The legendary mage Flom, who we don't know much about, right? Some people in the comments are trying to talk about Flom, and I was like, I don't know if I want to read any of those because I don't want to know much about Flom yet. I like the mystery surrounding Flom that we're getting little crumbs about her. We know that she seemed kind of, not airheaded necessarily, but she seemed kind of, and not full of herself. It's hard to describe the word I want to say, but she seemed kind of lofty, very like maybe flighty. And Frieren kind of like seemed like she was getting on to her even back then when she was a student, being like, really, teacher, what? Flom reminds me of Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen a little bit, in the fact that she's like, I'm a cool mom, I'm a cool mentor, but she could probably like destroy the entire earth, you know, one of those situations where she's just like, I'm just a goofy mentor, but I'm secretly OP and could destroy you all. Like that's the vibe I get from Flom. Whereas Frieren is the polar opposite. Frieren's like, why, yes, I am badass and I will sit here and kick your ass while knitting this sweater. Do we have a problem? I feel like the total vibes are absolutely different between them. And that's what makes them interesting. But so we even get back then when she was traveling 80 years ago with her party, that she was looking for grimoires by Flom. So everybody, the reason they've all been imitating her is because she is the legendary mage herself. Like, she's the one that introduced, I think this is important, introduced magic to humanity. So that's kind of a big deal, you know? She's like, oh, because back in the episode, I think it was episode 4, back in that episode where Frieren's like, oh yeah, she was my mentor. You're like, oh, Flom, the legendary mage. You're like, oh, she was just probably like a really popular mage of the time. Probably did some cool things. Who knows? You know, it's kind of like the Council of Elrond. Maybe she was just like one figure in a group of many. But the fact that she introduced magic to humanity is a big deal. And so it makes me ask questions like, for example, and I don't really want answers to these questions in the comments, by the way. I'm going to hopefully find out as the show reveals, but I'm just thinking out loud, right? So is she human? Is she human? Who taught her? Who taught her before she taught Frieren? And then what was her main objective? What was her purpose? She seemed like she wanted to just kind of do like what Frieren is doing and just go around and explore and discover things, which is cool. But was her main objective to like save humanity? Was her main objective to like supply humanity with the tools to save themselves? Was her main objective just to go discover things? And along the way, she was like, hey, I got nothing better to do. I'll teach you all magic. You know, we don't know anything about Flom, except that she was her instructor and everybody tries to imitate her work, right? But I find it curious that even back then, Frieren was trying to find, you know, remnants of her former companions to like keep their memories going, right? I think that's really, really interesting. And so, yeah, they're going along the way and they're like, this is probably the best imitation I've seen so far of her work. It's not bad as a reward for defeating monsters. And they're like, I don't understand the appeal. When all you see are fakes, you start to doubt whether the genuine one actually existed. So yeah, because you don't see the original, you wonder if it was really there at all. The founder of humanity's magic seems like a fairy tale herself. So there's this concept, right, of the fairy tale. And the fairy tale being fiction. And we're going to tie back to that with Himmel, who, dear God, the most perfect being alive, Himmel. But here's the thing. Y'all say Himmel's Jesus. Y'all say, like, after Himmel's Jesus. No. Frieren is basically Jesus. She's been around as long, you know. Basically, she's just like, yeah, I've been around the block. I've been around since the dawn of human magic. So, kind of, right? I think that's hilarious. I was like, yeah, Himmel may have like the lore behind him, but Frieren is literally walking amongst them, almost like a deity herself. It's crazy. And Freeren's like, a fairy tale. And you could tell she kind of like, thinks, is that what is going to become of all you? Are you guys all going to become fairy tales by the end of this? And we'll tie back to this because I like that this episode clearly seemed like different chapters of the manga that was smushed together, but I like that it all kind of bookends and comes back around, at least before the whole demon thing, right? It's been long enough since then. And then, yeah, she's like, I'm probably the only one who remembers her face. And that's when Himmel sees. I wondered before we started the OP, and Himmel was like, "Oh, so that idea of remembering their face. Put that up here. Remember face and what they look like. That inspired Himmel to put the statues in all the towns that they saved. That inspired Himmel to put all the statues in the towns that they saved, because when he heard her say, I'm the only one that probably remembers her face, he was like, oh no. He's like, is she going to be the only one that remembers us when this is all said and done? So he's like, I'm going to erect these statues so that wherever you travel, whatever you do, everyone will remember who we are, and they'll remember our faces for the futures and for eons to come. But we're gonna tie back to that. But I was like, that all makes sense now that that's what Himmel was like. That's why he was like, oh. It's like, ugh. It all tied back. It all makes sense now. So yeah. And then she wakes up. I love that Fern's like, oh my God, she woke up early. She didn't sleep in. This is a serious business. Something has happened. And I love that Stark is like, is this impressive that she's woken up early? And she's like, yes, of course it is. And she's like, we have to praise her. If we praise her, maybe she'll wake up early in the future. I love they treat her almost like she's an animal. They're like, if we praise her, she might do this again. So just follow my lead. I love that Stark is like giving her a massage. He's like, I'm pretty sure that Title IX doesn't approve this. Oh my gosh, which Title IX, if you work in the proper job sector, is like sexual harassment. And I love that she's just like eating the food like, I'm not complaining. See, the show lulls you into this false sense of Frieren being helpless, because here's Fern like spoon feeding her soup and Stark's giving her a massage. And I'm like, this girl can take care of herself. She's got you guys eaten out of the palm of her hand. Do not let her fool you, right? Okay. So then, of course, it is 28 years AH after Himmel, and they're moving around the stuff on the road. I love stuff like this. I love stuff like this in the episodes where it just shows them doing these casual random things. One thing I like too is that neither Fern nor Stark really truly complain about all the little odd jobs that they have to do. It's very refreshing, because normally you'd probably have that member of the party that would be like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Why are we wasting time? And Stark does say, like, why are we spending time on this? We could have just moved him in the cart and moved on. And Frieren's like, well, Stark, that doesn't solve the problem. The path is still going to be blocked. And I love that she looks at Stark and she's like, you're being awfully selfish, Stark. But then we find out it was Fern's suggestion to move the debris off the road. Frieren was thinking the same thing as Stark, and Fern's the one that got her to stop. So I like the little tongue-in-cheek, like the ribbing that Frieren does to Stark, being like, we were on the same page, dude. Fern's over here making us do extra work. I thought that was really funny. I liked that a lot. That was really cute. And I like this old man traveler that's like, oh, thank you, ladies. I love Stark and Frieren having this moment to like connect, where they're like, we're both on the same page. So I will say this show does an amazing job of giving us fan service without, I guess, overly sexualizing the characters is the way to go about it. But I love Stark's outfit design, like beneath the red jacket, like the black outfit with the white stuff. It reminds me a little bit of, I wish that Hei from Yu Yu Hakusho had this kind of outfit design that Stark has. I wish that were the case. I think I would have, because it looks like something he would wear, but it's so well designed. And I'm like, give us that fan service. We'll take it. I love it. I also love that Stark wants to try to get to know Fern. Like, he learns from the old man that there's still some skirmishes going on between the demons in the north and others. I also love the way that Stark describes like the scars of battle. I love that. I love this concept. I'll write it up here. That we have the scars of battle. I love it's called Scars of Battle. I like the idea that whenever there is a war or a skirmish or conflict, even after it's resolved, it still leaves behind traces of its existence. And I like that. I like how that's described here. Also, I mean, let's be real. Stark is like, okay, Fern, you and I are like the same age. You can call me Stark. You don't have to call me Mr. Stark. Mr. Stark is my father. You can call me, you know, we can be a little bit more familiar with one another. Like Stark wants to get to know Fern. Like it's so apparent, and Fern is just she's about as oblivious as Frieren is, but not quite. And Frieren's like, "Can you guys quit like flirting and get over here and help me move this stuff?" So she just calls him Stark, and I like how poor Fern, her two modes are either extremely polite granddaughter or like street rat off the streets. It's like, come on, bum, get to work. Like there's no in between. And I will blame it on the corrupt priest for corrupting our girl Fern in her speech. No, I feel like Frieren is like probably like just like, come on, we're wasting time. You know, I just like Fern's attitudes towards Stark in general. It's really funny. And she's like, what a pain in the rear. I like she just does not give him any grief. And then Frieren's like, you guys making progress or am I doing all the work? So then they get drug into town and they talk about her being an elf. And she's like, there aren't very many of us. I've only seen a handful of my own kind. The last elf I saw was 400 years ago. And okay, I like that we get an explanation for why there are not a lot of elves and why they are so hard to find. They're not getting it on. That's the main reason. She's like, yeah, we live a long time, but we don't have romantic feelings and reproductive instincts. It's like we're all kind of asexual and we don't really want to get together. So, yeah. Which I do think that is like a neat kind of character device where it's like, you know, you have these elves that could live forever and potentially have all these magical capabilities. Why aren't they taking over the world? Why is there not a whole fleet of them? Well, because they're kind of loners and they don't really have any romantic interest in each other. So that's what happens. I feel bad because there's a part of me that would like Frieren to like, you know, have a romantic love interest. Himmel's dead, so it can't be him. But then there's another part of me that kind of like relates, and I'm like, oh, who wants to waste time with that? So I can definitely understand where Frieren's coming from. She's like, nah, I don't really. I'm all about romance, but in the real world, like I'm all about romance and fiction. Romance and fiction, love it. Give me it every day of the week. Give me it every hour of the day. I'll take it. Romance in real life, guess. I relate a lot to Frieren. I'm like, girl, no, I hear you. And she's like, we really don't have any interest in babies or anything like that. So we're quietly going extinct. I love that. She's like, we're just slowly living our best lives and then slowly dying off. And that's pretty much it. Can it fuel my ship between her and the elf and the OP? Sure, but I don't think it's going to work out. But yeah. Like the last time I met a fellow elf was more than 400 years ago. So it'll be curious to see if we meet that elf if maybe the green haired elf in the OP is the one she met 400 years ago. Maybe. And what do we do about that? I don't know. Interesting. I want to know where Frieren came from. She's like, perhaps we're closer to the end than I thought. So there's that shot. Okay. There was that shot of the house on fire and the swing, and I'm not sure if it was supposed to represent the house that was lit on fire by the demon later on the episode, or if it's a different house. I feel like it's a different house, but we'll see what the swing represents and what's going on. But yeah, Frieren's like, we'll probably all just go extinct, but oh well. She doesn't seem that concerned about it, right? We don't really get an idea of how long elves live. That's the thing. Like, because she doesn't seem very old at all. Of course, the question is, in this world, and I don't want answers, we'll find out, but do elves ever age technically, or do they just look the same age for 99.9% of their lives, and at the last minute they just kick the bucket? I don't know. I don't know how that works. I'm hoping that we find out as we go. So we stumble across this town, right? We've made it in this town that's like run with the merchants. And we find out that the demons who ruled this land were defeated by their party 80 years ago. I love how we see all the designs of the demons as they come forward. They all kind of look like Digimon monsters, but I'm here for it. I like this Hydra and this like lion. Okay, and the lion, the demon, there's the little horns, right? The little Spyro dragon horns are on there. Okay, so a question is, the 3 demons that have come to be the envoys in all this, are they going to transform into something like this snake demon that they fought? Will they reveal their true form and not look as humanoid if they're agitated? That could very well be, maybe. But the horns signify like what it is, so that's interesting. And she's like, is that right? Is that right? Huh? Who knew? So she talks about the festivals, which, God, I freaking love when she's like, you humans, you have a festival for everything. I was like, humans like celebrating, right? What can we say? It's like there's like a national holiday every day of the year. I mean, humans just like celebrating stuff. There's no problem with that. But it's been 80 years since the demon was defeated. What's interesting is that the man says that's more than enough time for something to pass from human memory, which at first you think, oh, well, that's only 80 years. That's not so bad. But I think the thing about it is, in this world, it's not like our own world, because when we think of our world, we're like, oh, 80 years ago was the 1950s, right? Or not 1950s, like 1940s, right? Was, 1940s was 80 years ago, which is kind of crazy. But we think about our modern technology, we have ways of immortalizing data, like what Himmel's talking about. We have ways of taking pictures, we have ways of cataloging, we have ways of like creating different shrines and memorials and things where you do remember the past because it's all accessible. You have access to that technology, access to that history. Here, because there's not that technology, it's like, yeah, in 80 years, if you don't pass things through word of mouth or there's a visible place to remember, you're going to forget. And that's so true. Like a lot of times they say the best way to kill a culture is to destroy its history, destroy its language. If they can't communicate, if you can't share stories, then it just disappears. And that is something really interesting that we wouldn't think in our timeline that 80 years would be enough to forget something, but here definitely could be. And so Frieren doesn't really have, any response to that, but he's like, but on this day, everyone remembers the party of the hero. And I love that Himmel, every time, Himmel being so pleased with the statue, and then he turns around and his like blue crystal clear eye is in the shadows, but he looks so handsome and perfect, and I'm like, stop it. But they're like, oh, it only took 5 times to get it right this time. And it's not even perfect. Like, the face is a little off, but they're like, 5 retakes, huh? And meanwhile, the sculptor's over here like, God, don't make me do it again. It's like, we finished you sooner than usual this time. And that's when Frieren's like, you're always getting statues made. And he's like, because I want everyone to remember us. Unlike you, we don't live that long. And I love haters just sitting over there like, oh, Himmel, look at you. And Eisen's like, what is this flirting? He's like, we don't live that long. So and I like that anytime Himmel would try to say something sentimental, he would usually preface it with something over the top and like Team Rocket dramatic. And Frieren's like, I can't. And he's like, oh, come on, Frieren. He's like, I need future generations to remember how handsome I was. And she's like, the flirting is not working. I'm heading back to the inn. And that's when he's like, but I guess, and that's when he unloads like the heart wrench. He's like, but I guess the biggest reason is so that you won't be alone in the future. And I'm like, what do we do with that? Oh my God. So he's doing all of this so that she won't be alone, and other people will also remember his face and be able to talk about him, and that way she can talk to them about him as well. I love it. He's like, we're not fairy tales. We really existed. Oh, 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 you could have ended the episode with this. You could have ended the episode with this. I would have been satisfied. I've been like, oh, bookend that shit. All comes back together. It's so good. Yes, please. And then they have all the flower crowns, like when they were out in the field in episode 2 with all the flowers. Yeah. And they accomplished the great deeds. Like, you look like Miss Frieren. Isn't that funny? And of course, you know, Frieren, she kind of questions it in, I wouldn't describe it as pessimistic, but kind of like a realistic way. She's like, will they still be doing this 100 years from now? Or 1,000? You know, as long as the town exists, then sure. But, you know, she's saying realistically, is it going to last forever? And I feel like she's speaking from experience that maybe there were statues of Flom, and over hundreds and hundreds of years they were destroyed. Because, you know, you have Flom, who was supposedly introduced magic to humanity, if that's even true, right? It's been 1,000 years. The truth could have been distorted. It may not have been her that taught humanity the magic. It may have been somebody else. We don't know. But Frieren's like, you know, is this really going to be sustainable? And that's interesting, because you can look at it in the perspective that no, chances are in 1,000 years this won't be the case. But is Frieren going to be alive in 1,000 years? Will it matter then? But also, I brought up religion in the reaction, because it's one of those things where as long as people believe and as long as they keep telling the stories, then it will withstand the test of time. And you can look at so many different religions, not just Christianity, but other religions who have been around for thousands of years. And the reason they still exist is because people keep telling the stories. So I think that optimistically, you could say, yeah, they're going to continue existing. It's just what's going to need to happen to keep that story alive. And does it have sustainability? You can't tell that. Like, Frieren almost seems to be questioning to get a direct answer, but the only answer she gets is as long as the town still stands. And they're like, well, we don't know what other trajectories will happen. We just know as long as the town's still here, we'll keep on going. Oh, Himmel. I love seeing it. And then they're on their merry way. And I like that Stark's like, wait, what are we doing? Where are we going to our destination? She's like, we're going to heaven. He's like, well, that seems nice. That sounds fun. And I love that she says heaven after seeing the image of him, like he is heaven to her. The romance got me in the heart. So we're getting more north. We're in the northern lands now with Graf Granite. What an alliteration, right? I love me some alliteration, but Graf Granite. Graf Granite is one of those like fictional names, right? You read a story and they're like Lillian Laputia, and you're like, really? All right, fiction name. Interesting. But yeah, you can tell there's been damage around the castle. There's a battle going on, and interesting, right? I also like that this gives Frieren a little bit more motivation, that, you know, before she's been seeing all the statues, I'm sure, as she travels place to place. But as we get to the northern lands where things are a little bit more restless and they're a little bit more conflict driven, you know, in the central lands, there's no threats going on except your random monster. So she was content to just walk around gathering spells and thwarting like the random monsters that got in her way. But there wasn't like any imminent danger. The moment we step foot in these northern lands, it's like we suddenly have imminent danger. Like, these demons are smart and they're coming after us and we need to do something about it. I'm so excited. The stakes have jumped up. We're not gathering jam making spells now. No, we possibly will be killing demons. So I like how the story eased you in, being like, oh, she's just a little old granny collecting spells and getting her smut novels, and now she's like gonna possibly be killing a family of demons. Don't worry. Here we go. So yeah, I also liked how immediately the tone changed. Like, the guards and everything around, the music changed, and that's when Frieren's like, oh shit, there's a demon. Like, she instantly sensed it coming. She's like, there are demons there. And they're like, oh. And sure enough, we round the corner and there's like a whole family of demons. I like that the one elder demon that is voiced by Mother Truckin' Suabe. Oh my God. Lugner? Is that his name? I cannot iterate to you all. I definitely find myself on a spectrum, and I'm not, sexually attracted to many people at all. But one thing that like gets my attraction level is a voice. Like voices, oh, I'm like, just keep talking. Christian Bale and Howl's Moving Castle, stop, get out of here. Lunge's voice in Monster, get out of here. And Suabe, him and Suda, they just have these voices that you're just like, it's just like an eargasm. You could just listen to it all day and you're just like, yes, keep talking. And Suabe is one of those voices, and I swear, I didn't want to react. I just wanted to sit there and listen to him speak and be like, just keep talking. So it's perfect that he's playing a demon that's trying to seduce you so it can kill you, right? They're basically, the demons in this world are velociraptors from the 1993 Jurassic Park. I ain't talking about Blue. I ain't talking about Jurassic World. No. No, we're going to go back to Jurassic Park. We're going to go back to the OG 1993 version, and we're going to do a comparison with that, because that is the right comparison. Because I was trying to think of how to best compare the demons in this series to something that can be a little bit more maybe understandable for a non-D&D, non-fantasy player. And no, they're velociraptors. So you have your demons, right? They're basically like a velociraptor, okay? And I'm talking about Jurassic Park 1993. Right? Because in the new version, I don't know if you've seen Jurassic World. One of my friends actually is a actor in that movie. But anyway, we'll talk in the comments down below. But anyway, so in the newer versions, it's like, Chris Pratt has Blue, the Velociraptor, and they're friends. And they're like, it's fine. I've tamed the raptors and they're going to help us, whatever. Bleh. In 1993's Jurassic Park, no, the raptors are trying to kill you. And they adapt to humanity to kill you. They are smart enough to figure out how humanity works, so they adapt to it. They've learned how to open up doors and adapt to human movement. It's all as a predator-prey relationship, and they are the predators. So, and it's just well, who's going to be the bigger predator, you or me, sort of situation. So here you see Suabe sweet talking the guy who looks like freaking Shanks from One Piece. I kept wanting to say, hey, Shanks. He's just the hair's not quite red enough, but I was like, he looks like Shanks. But he's sweet talking him. And I'm like, he's just saying whatever he thinks he needs to say to get on their side. And the way she describes it, she's like, all they do is they learn human speech to deceive you. So she's like, look, he's just spouting off whatever he believes you should know and that you'll react to get you to let him get closer and closer. Because the other two, Drat and Linley, I think that's her name, they're just back there being they're like the two other raptors in the original that just kind of follow the alpha raptor. And they're like, we'll just do whatever you say as long as you get us food. And Suabe's character, Lugner, is the alpha raptor, right? My only qualm with this entire episode, because when the demon sees her, it's oh, an elf, interesting, that's trying to kill us. Look at that. And then I do like that Frieren does not fight back against the soldiers. They throw her to the ground and she doesn't fight back because she's been around the block. She knows there's no point in her fighting back. She's like, eh. Frieren's concept of time is she's like, oh, you're going to put me in the slammer for 2 to 3 years? By my comparisons, that's 30 minutes. Fine, whatever. Just get this over with. Guys, go find me some grimoires. I'm going to hang out here and knit. And I like that Fern and Stark are like, what do we do with you? What do we do? I'm going to be curious to see what they've been up to all this has been going down. But I like the demons did you put her up to this? We're supposed to be doing a peace negotiation, right? And the whole point of them wanting the peace negotiation is so they can invade the kingdom and kill them all. That's the point. They reveal their strategy. They ain't trying to negotiate for peace. No. I give this creator a lot of balls because in a lot of modern shonen and series, it's oh, the other side. Well, yes, they are portrayed as demons, but in reality, they're just like us, and we're equal species, and we're all just trying to make a better world, and actually we could get along if we did talk things out and everything. And in this series, no. No, the demons are velociraptors. They are here to kill you. There is no arguing with them. I like that Frieren's like, they are deceiving you. They look like humans and they talk like humans, but in this case, they are actually monsters that will eat you. And that's the point. And it's like, aha. So, I mean, Frieren's been around for 1,000 years. I am sure that she's seen her fair share of demons. And she's fought her fair share of demons, too. So she probably knows every trick in the book, right? She probably has seen every possible demon assimilation under the sun, right? I do like the idea that the demons have evolved in how they try to deceive humanity as time has gone on. I like that they're still like, they act almost animalistic when they talk to one another, but they've become sophisticated enough to imitate just the right parts of human speech to get closer to the characters, right? And I love that he says there's bloodlust in those calm, cold eyes. She's like, yeah, I'd kill you, bitch, if you'd let me up. I'm just saying. Even the townsfolk who hate us look upon me as a person, even as they tremble in fear, but not you. But you look at me as though I'm a wild beast. And she's like, because you are. And you're just trying to deceive them. I also think that it's important to note that Frieren is not a human. So her not being deceived by the demons might have something to do with it as well. And at first, when she was talking about, like, she seems so strong in her conviction that I wondered if maybe a demon killed Flom. And that's why she has this feeling. But then we see the house with the chief and the daughter. And it's like, no, this iterated her point. But it very well could be the case that, because she wanted Himmel to kill the demon right off the bat. So it could be the case that Frieren has seen what these demons can do the last 1,000 years. And was like, yeah, we can't mess around with them. Or they will attack you. I'm glad that Stark and Fern did not have Stark was worried. He was like, hey, you're taking her away. But I'm glad Fern and Stark didn't get thrown in the dungeon either. I'm glad they were just kind of like, we're with her, but okay. And so, I'm glad that this Nat guy or Grant guy is nice enough to not throw them in as well, right? I'm sorry, but my favorite thing was when we cut straight to the guard being like, talk to the hand. You don't get to go in there. It's freaking hilarious. I'm sorry, but there's just no context. Just like, no, like, talk to the hand, bitches. You ain't going in. You ain't going in there. And Frieren's like, well, this is very boring and inconvenient. She's like, I'm bored. And then they come visit her and she's like, oh, hey guys. Yeah, I'm stuck in here for 2 years. Could you bring me some grimoires? I need some books to read while I'm stuck in here knitting. And they're like, And Fern's like, really? So they find out that there's this demon called Aura the Guillotine. Sounds like a fun name. And she's one of the 7 sages of destruction who serve the Demon King. Okay, so we have the Demon King over here. And we have 7 sages. Now, y'all can correct me down below, but I'm pretty sure wasn't one of the sages the one that they unfroze and killed back then? Was that correct? Back a few episodes ago, we unfroze a demon and killed him. Was that one of the sages? Maybe. But yeah, so Aura, old Aura Mayari, she is one of the 7 sages of destruction who served the Demon King. Cool. And what does Frieren say about her? She said she lost most of her followers fighting against us. So she's like, yeah, the 4 of us took her. It was fine. I mean, I don't see Hater doing much in this party, so I feel like it's Ice and Himmel and Frieren who did most of the work, right? But last I heard, her whereabouts were unknown. And then she regained her power 28 years ago. Because, yeah, the idea of it's been 80 years since they fought, so for 40 years she hung out. And then 40 or 60 years she hung out, and now she's got her power back. Interesting. And Frieren's like, oh, okay. Her forces have been embroiled in a battle with the town for a long time. And Frieren's like, well, this is a bad move. Them talking to a demon is pointless. And I kind of, you have the idea that Stark is like, no, these demons, they can talk like humans. They'll be fine. And Stark exhibits a lot of traits like Himmel in this moment where he's like, no, it's fine. They'll be okay. And Frieren's like, no, you don't understand. it's like they're imitating human speech. They're not capable of the same emotional level as humanity and beyond. They're demons. They evolutionarily are below development wise. They're just predators, right? So I like that this show is distinctly being like, no, they are raptors. They are not to be trusted. You don't understand, which is kind of cool because, you know, in other shows, you know, a monster is a monster and it's easy to villainize them and be like, oh, destroy the monster. They look different than us. But when they look the same as humanity and can talk like humanity, then it's like, oh, well, maybe we need to like try to talk things out with them. And Freeren's like, no, that's exactly what they want, right? Because you don't want to hurt something that looks like you. This flashback sequence was incredible. I loved the concept that Himmel spared the demon and it used like the mom phrase, and Freeren's like, Frieren was Tim the Enchanter from My Python. She was like, I warned you, banana. You thought I was a little demon, didn't you? And then the demon killed the man. The best part about all this, though, although it was really funny when the girl, because it's like you take a tiger home thinking, it's like, this is like Tiger King. You take a tiger home thinking that you're going to befriend it, and then it ends up mauling you because it's a wild animal no matter how you try to tame it. Because that moment where she's like, the daughter is like dragging the demon's like a little rag doll. That part was funny. And Freeren's like, Himmel, you'll regret not killing it now. It's a demon. And Himmel's like, Frieren, we're capable of speech with each other. We'll be staying in the village anyway, so we can watch it. Why don't we see how it goes? And Freeren's like, she's like, fine. But it's not going to end well. And then, yeah, they welcomed the demon into their home. They gave it food. Frieren watched it, being like waiting for the bomb to go off. And I like the juxtaposition of the flowers in the field, which felt like what does it feel like? It felt like a Case Study of Vanitas moment. If you've ever watched Case Study of Vanitas, there's a similar moment that happens. It felt like that, right? I won't say what because you should go watch it. But yeah, Himmel thinks that they've done right, and then cut to it on fire, and they killed the chief. And that shot, when it cuts back to Himmel and Himmel's face, like the shadows under his eyes, and he's pissed. Oh, and God, that moment where the demon's like, here's your daughter. I found you a new one. See, the chief's gone, so now you can have her. And it's like, no. And honestly, at that moment, when the demon's like, here, I killed the chief, now you can have its daughter. It's like if a dog could talk. One of those scenarios, right? As my dog is here. It's one of those scenarios like if a dog could talk, you know? Because everybody's always like, well, what would a dog be saying? And I'm like, well, probably wouldn't have like sentence structure and logic like a person would. It would just be saying things like, oh, the ball. And the demon is kind of like that too, where it's like, look, this is my logic. I did this and did that. Does that not make sense to you? And it's like, no, because humanity functions on a different level than that. And it's like, I've made a mistake somehow. When it said that, I was like, oh, it is like a monster that could talk. It's not on the same level as humanity. It's just rationalizing, being like, I thought this would solve the problem for you, but it clearly did not. So I've made a mistake. To know that that's how the demons function is interesting. And then it says, I have no choice. I'm taking this child hostage. And the moment that Himmel like slides past it and says, no, mark me down as scared and aroused. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, just no. And Frieren's like, yep, time to go. You won't stop me, will you? And yeah, Himmel says, no. Oh my God. And so then Frieren's like, why did you say mom? Demons don't have families. They're raised alone. And that in itself is a little sad. That part was a little bit sad when she's like, most of them spend their time after birth living in solitude. They don't have a concept of family. It's like they're literally a dinosaur nest. It's like they hatch out of their eggs and they all go their separate ways. And that's the end of it. They don't know what a mom and a dad is. There's no concept of family there. She's like, so you just saying mom, why did you say it? Why do you use the word mom? And the demon saying, because it stops you from killing us. That's so cold. That's so ruthless. Oh my God. That's just, bitch, what a move. And she's like, for them, words are a means of deception. Flom defined monsters capable of speech as demons. So I like that Flom's the one that gave the categorizing to them, which again, I'm curious to know if Flom was killed by a demon. Like, how does this go down? There it says they're descended from monsters who cried help. Yep. And from the shadows to lure humans to them. Yeah, okay. Frieren's like, yeah, there's no reasoning with them. It's just a different thing. So she's like, don't forget to bring me grimoires. She's like, I just told you this disturbing information and that we could be in a lot of danger, but bring Grandma her smut. She wants to read her stories. Love it. I'm still sticking with the headcanon that Frieren is just going along her way, finding random smutty novels to read along her journey. Meanwhile, we have this lovely, like, crossing of the X with, like, the blue, everything's just mixed, matched, whatever. Graff's his name. When they said Graff was late, I was like, is he gonna be dead? But I like that Lugner's like, I'm curious about that mage. I know her face from somewhere. So I thought originally that Lugner was the little demon that they killed and that the demon got away and that was him, but nope. And I like that he's like, oh, wild beasts who can't be communicated with. Well, that's an accurate description. I like that the demons are at least honest. They're like, oh, she figured us out. How about that? There's only one reason that predators who prey on humans would speak the human language. And they speak to not understand us, but to deceive us. It's interesting she has to tell herself that mantra. I guess to steel herself to be able to kill the demons. I guess because they look like them. So I think it's a neat thing that even if Frieren's been around for 1,000 years and she's killed demons before, she still has to tell herself every time so that she doesn't slip. I think that's interesting. So yeah, so then the demons basically, like, they basically get the king to stand, or the governor or whatever, to stand down, even though their own son died 10 years ago next to Aura. They still, Ludner uses that sweet suave voice to get him to stand down. I want to make note that you could tell that Drat was going to use his threads, interestingly enough, and the girl has like some kind of like ball of energy that looks like it's problematic. But yeah, they managed to let everybody stand down. I'm like, what the fudge? And he lies saying, I kept my father's room the same since you killed him too. And he preys on human emotion and compassion and uses that speech to get him to stop. And then they get led away and they're like, Lord Lugner, what is a father? And he's just like, oh, who knows? The fact they're like, I don't know. We're just saying it so they won't kill us. Oh, that's so good. And then pouring the wine and everything and like eating the stuff. They're like, he resents us, but he seems to be empathetic. If we win him over, we'll convince him to lower the barrier and then we'll just destroy this place. I love that they're like so vicious and evil, but it's like they're so vicious and evil, but it's like in the most polite and sincere and quiet way. They're like, we're going to wreck this place. As they're like cutting up their food, they're like, we're going to like wreck their shit and kill them all. Okay. Like, just, I love it. It's great. And so we see Aura. We don't see Aura, but we see a shadow of her. I'm assuming it's a her. And there's all these headless knights that apparently work for her. Interesting. Linny. And they're like, where's Drott? And she's like, oh, Drott went on an enthusiastic walk down into the dungeon. And like, just did, speaking of Alucard, his, Drott's ability with the threads to like decapitate a person instantly reminds me of the butler in Hellsing Ultimate. Reminds me of that. And then he shows up at Frieren and Frieren's like, I was minding my own business. And you show up and she's like, visiting hours are over, bitch. And he's like, oh, hey, I'm here to kill you. I love that Frieren's like, well, I'm glad you're honest. I'm glad you're upfront. No pretty words. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to kill you. And she's like, I'm going to warn you, bitch. I may be 1,000 years old, but Granny's got some backbone and I'm going to kill you. But again, I like that this shows it shows the thought process of the demons, that they're not thinking of anything complex or beyond, beyond like a human would. They're just thinking she's an obstacle. If we get rid of her, then we'll be better off. So I'm going to get rid of her. Like, it's like there's no ulterior motive. It's just, it is what it is. And Frieren's like, okay. But she doesn't have her staff with her, so I don't know what she's going to do. She doesn't have her magical staff. But she does say that she's strong. And he's like, are you stronger than me? And she's like, I'm stronger than Aura. Which I believe, because they stopped her before. But if she doesn't have her staff, how is Frieren going to fight back? Curious, right? Oh, this is such a good episode. This was an amazing episode. I loved this episode to pieces. Absolutely wonderful. So yeah, so the good news is I don't think Frieren's going to be there for 2 to 3 years. She was already contemplating escape because she's like, this town is going down if they let these demons in. So the good news for Fern and Stark is they probably won't be there 3 years. The bad news is there could be a demon army on the way, or there could be a massacre here in like the next episode. But you know what the next episode is? It's the 8th episode. And even though if this series were shorter, I would say it's the rule of 8, which I'm still going to call it the rule of 8. Usually in a short series, like a 12-episode season, the rule of 8, the 8th episode is always amazing. But 8's my lucky number, so I'm holding out hope that next episode's a good one. So we'll see, but in any case, I hope you like this reaction discussion. I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Frieren. Bye!